Neva was a good, strong woman, and the wife of the head of the tribe. And in the place where she lived, everyone lived in thatched cottages and tried to sleep in hammocks. And when I say tried to sleep, it's because the Creator had not made day and night. All there was the sun shining in the sky all of the time. And the men did not know when it was day or night. The children did not know when it was time to go to bed. And all the men would do would be to go out and fish and look after the crops and to look after the animals. And the women would have to look after the children and cook and clean. And since there was no day and since there was no night, all of the time they would be cooking and cleaning and looking after the men. The men would say, we would like to be able to sit and rest. The men would say that we do not want to have to work all of the time looking after the crops and the animals and fishing. We would like to spend some time in darkness, and we would like to sit and talk and smoke by the side of fires. The women would say, we would just like to have a rest from having to cook and clean all of the day for all of the men and the children. Neva's husband, Nahua, would like to have had a chance to rest, but there was no day and there was no night. So he couldn't believe it when he saw his son, Kochepil. Kochepil was in the kitchen while his mother cooked. Was in the kitchen, and he looked, and in a corner he could see that there was something dark. Well, he looked to see what it was, and as Kochepil looked inside, he could see that it was a mouse, and the mouse itself was wrapped in darkness. He told his mother. He said, Mother, I have seen a mouse, and the mouse has darkness wrapped about it. Perhaps the mouse has a night. Kochepil had told Neva, and Neva told her husband. Nahua looked and said, if the mouse has got a night, then why can't we have a night? And he spoke with his son. He said, Kochepil, what I want you to do is this. I want you to go and try and trick the mouse out of its night. If the mouse has a night, then men should have a night. And we can rest. We can sleep in the darkness. And we will be able to sit by the side of the fires and talk and rest. So Kochepil went down on all fours in the kitchen and looked to try and see where he could see the mouse hole, where the mouse was, where the night was creeping out. On all fours he took some of the meat that he'd been given for his dinner and he placed it in the front of the mouse hole, one bit after another, to try and draw the mouse out. Well, the smell of the fine food that Kochepil had left for the mouse was too much for the mouse, and out it crept, whiskers and nose, head and tail. And Kochepil went down and he grabbed hold of the mouse and said, Oh, my fine fellow mouse, please, I see that you have a night. Please, could I have some of that night to borrow for my mother and my father? The mouse was no fool. What would there be in this for me? Oh, mouse, said Kochepil. I shall make sure that you get fine scraps every day. I shall give them to you. I will find some fine, fat, meaty cockroaches for you to eat. At the prospect of food, the mouse was very willing to give its night to Kochepil, at least just one night. And the mouse crouched down
and thick black smoke of the night came from out of its eyes and its ears and from the tip of its snout, and it curled right up and into the sky, and the sun tried to hide from it and hid underneath the darkness, and the first night came. The men rejoiced. They'd never had a night so dark. They'd never had any night at all. And they sat there and lit fires and decided that now they would talk and sit and smoke. And the women, who were much cleverer than men, decided that this was a time to lay themselves down inside of their hammocks. But I've got to tell you this.
But no sooner had the night started than the night was over. For the mouse's night was too short. The men had spent their time talking by the side of the fires when they could have slept, and now Nahua decided that he would go with all of his warriors to try and find an animal's night that was longer than just a wink or a blink of an eye. All of his men made themselves ready. They went out hunting. And in the forest there were shadows, but at one point they could see something that was darker than a shadow, and it was a tapir. Nahua thought that if a mouse can have a night, then all of the other animals can have a night, and perhaps some of their nights will be longer. The men surrounded the tapir. The tapir was there, and before they struck, they spoke. Tapir, if you would wish to live, then you must give up your night to us, so that we will know day from night, that we will know what it is to rest in a hammock and not have a night that is more than just an instant. At the prospect of being killed, the tapir quite willingly gave up his night.
And a thick, dense, oily night slipped and slithered from out of the tapir's body. It rose into the sky, and again the sun hid beyond the horizon, and the second night came. And for the first time, the men and women saw the stars in the sky. Some of them were frightened by the stars, but many thought that they were like friendly tigers' eyes looking down at them. And even though the mouse's night had been so short, the men still lit fires and sat and talked and waited, and it was only as they got sleepy that they decided that they would lay inside of their hammocks. And when they lay asleep, the dark